Hello and welcome to another edition of the Gravestone Pros here in North Country Memorials. We are so glad you have joined us today. We're going to be working on a stone I have been excited for months. I worked on it last summer, got the design all done, and it's one that I think is going to be kind of really cool. Got a couple horses on it and a barn and stuff, so I am really excited to show you guys. It's going to be great, so come along. So we had to do a lot of moving around on that stack there. We needed one that was the third from the bottom, so we had to pull that one, and that's sitting over there. All right, we got the truck out of here. Here was some of the last stuff Dad was working on. So he got the panel out for most of it, but he had just a little butterfly here and a horse head that he needed to take out. So we missed some of the steps in the process, but this is some of the early steps, getting the stencil on and then taking everything out so we can do what's called frosting the panels. That is the next step. Dad has gotten this part of this scene all done. Obviously the barn's going to go there, the horse and the foal. I specifically wanted to make sure these spots here stayed polished. Technically, you could just pull those all out when you're blasting and just have it frosted behind it all. But it really makes it nice because they're kind of standing on a little bit of a hill. The idea is back behind them is going to look different, obviously, than the foreground above them because that's going to be sky back behind them. So to have that polished really will make these stand out. And I'll try and shoot and show that when that gets finished, kind of how that looks. Now I'm going to peel the last name out. Dad kind of didn't see those were there, so we'll make sure we get those before we go. Here's all the pieces. Dad did print out. We don't normally do this, but Dad took and printed this out so that he could just get a little better look at it. When it's in the rubber, it's a little hard to see, of course, and we know we can take and dirty it up and put a little, people do different things. I heard one guy takes ink, kind of waters it down, and then puts it on a piece of paper towel or whatever and spreads it across to make those little lines show up. But Dad printed it out just so he could get a little better look at it before he did it. It's a good way to do it. I do this kind of thing sometimes. I would normally do it with my iPad and just leave that image on my iPad rather than printing. But he's old school, so nothing wrong with that. What we just see here is the frosting of the panel being done, and that is just taking the polish, which the stone is polished just by using different grits and going up higher and higher grit until you have a real smooth polished stone. And then we have to take that polish off so we can get good contrast. We do not like to paint. We really prefer to blast a nice V-sunk letter, and then we will blue, which is blasting it again when we're finished with powder, and that process will get done later on. We don't really see it. We see him prepping for it, but it's very hard to get actual footage of that part of it, and the blasting itself, it's hard to get photo of as well. But Dad was checking it here, looking it over, making sure that everything was good to go, and he found on the bottom he needed just a little bit more. There was just a little bit of shine. You can both feel it with your fingers. You'll feel just a little bit of smoothness where there should be a kind of a consistent rough consistency, but he just put it back in real quick and hit it again. You can see him reach in there, feel it again, and then start and stop. Then we move on to this process, which is putting all that stencil back in that we just peeled out. So you take and we put in, some people call it glue, but it is technically a stencil filler. We use Anchor Stencil and Anchor Stencil Filler right now. We use number 223, I believe. It's the blue can, is what we use. So here he's just pressing in all the pieces, making sure they're where they need to be. With the big panels, sometimes it's hard to keep it straight from one side to the other, so you really kind of have to be particular with that. And then you go ahead and hammer it all in, make it all real nice. And then you start my favorite part, called weeding. Some people call it peeling, but it's just simply taking those letters out. And as Dad was working on this, we had it running, and you could see me in the background doing some video intro. But we had it running and we had volume going, and so I'm just going to kind of let this run for you guys and get a little ASMR, they call it. Just kind of hear the working in the shop, stuff making a little bit of noise. I think it's really kind of neat, and you'll enjoy it. If you don't like that kind of thing, skip ahead about 2 minutes. Normally I cut all this stuff, but I thought today I'd just leave some of it in here. Maybe some of you will find it interesting. Again, this is just kind of setting up for the sandblaster. You got to get everything kind of level on and good to go, and then you can go ahead and start sandblasting. And that's just the process that he's working on here. I'm just going to let it run in real time. So here you can see he has started blasting, and those letters are just starting. You can see a little bit of the yellow at the top of Karen and down below, and on the date there is no more yellow because the mylar has come off and has been blasted through, and it's just going to continue going back and forth until it gets all the mylar out, and then of course starts eating into the stone. So here you see Dad pulled the stone out and put it back in, and then he pulled it out again and put it back in. What he was doing was covering up the scene. He'd gotten to the depth he wanted on the scene, and he didn't want any of the little pieces of like the ear of the horse or any of that to blow out. And so he took it out and put stencil on, and he cuts away and he leaves the sticky part only on the edges so that he's not peeling up. Otherwise, later when he goes to glue it, he would have problem. And then here you can see kind of that edge of that yellow. That's where the sticky was, and the rest was all unharmed, so it didn't pull any of the middles of stuff out. So then he kind of gets this all prepped and ready to go into the booth for bluing, which he skips kind of right past that then. It's hard to get any footage, like I said, of the bluing process, so we don't have any of that filmed. Then he moves on to peeling the stone and getting everything off before he's ready to go ahead and start cleaning. Dad's getting those all cleaned, and I just wanted to jump over here and show you. He is taking, we use mineral spirits. That's the solution he's using to break stuff down. And behind me, we've got a 55-gallon drum of it. We finally got to that point. We used to buy 1-gallon containers from Walmart. Then we went and we got 5-gallon containers from Sherwin-Williams most of the time. And finally, a couple years ago, we ordered a 55-gallon drum, put that nice handle on it, and that works really good. It doesn't spill. It's easy to fill, and so that's how we do it now. Dad's just saying we saved a decent bit buying it in 55-gallon drums rather than the 5-gallon pails we used to get it in. So definitely a more economical way to do it, and you know, we don't use a 55-gallon drum every year. We've had that for season and a half probably. This is going on. This will be the end of our second full season using it, and the start of our third probably at the end of this year. So, but it's definitely nice to have, and it's nice to not have to just run down and get it as often, just to have it there. I don't know if there's a shelf life on mineral spirits, but so far we haven't noticed any reduction in the potency of it. It's been working great. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the cleaning and the mineral spirits. You can see kind of in the bottom of that M, a little bit of milkiness. So stuff is broken down. He's got it mostly off of here. One thing that I find important about cleaning with these mineral spirits is to make sure you never leave those little bits, like right in that letter or right in that horse. I can see just a little bit of white down on the side, down in there. And like up here, he had to glue stuff on, and so I can see, you know, there's a little bit of extra glue down in there. But then you can see mostly, there's a little chunk that didn't get peeled off. You can see mostly down in, it's mostly all out, but just little bits. But I find it very important to make sure you don't let it dry at this point, because if you do, that white milkiness will be in those letters, and it'll keep them lighter than they should naturally be, and it is nigh impossible to get off later. So that's one of the big things is you get here, you get them rinsed out till it's clear or mostly clear. and then rinse it immediately with water and get the rest of it out so that you don't have issues with it. Especially anytime you got on these edges, those are always a little harder to get and break down when you got it on the rough edge over there. So that's always something to be looking at. A little bit there too, but this one's mostly done. When you got a polish edge like on this stone, it's a lot easier, but even there's a little bit, but that just rubs right off. Not much to that one, but that's something to look for when you're cleaning. All right, there it is, guys. I am very happy with how that turned out. The horse and the foal look really nice. That barn is a custom barn that I got. They sent me kind of a photo of what they want I did. And then I don't know what exactly the significance was of the butterfly and the horse, but that was something that Karen really wanted to make sure was on there. It was very important to her to have that extra horse head. So my guess is it probably was a horse that was very special to her that represents, but I'm not positive. And then the butterfly, of course. Many people have things with butterflies, so that is a pretty common thing you'll see. But I really liked how this scene in particular came out, the barn and the horses together. I thought looked really nice. I love this color stone. It's really one of my favorites. Now you can see it's not totally dry yet. There's just a little bit of darkness up top there, but it's looking good. So I'm quite happy with how this is all turning out here. Since we're kind of right next to this one, I'll show this one as well. Now I have done this design a few times with that kind of log and the flowers. I really like that. That's blue pearl stone. Really pretty. Turned out very nice. And you can see, of course, the shine in that stone. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming along. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun getting to show this off. Dad did quite a lot of the work. I did little bits here and there, but a lot of it, it's him in the shop most of the time. Unfortunately, it's not me, but I was very proud of this design and feel like we executed it really well. It turned out very nice. Unfortunately, it's not ready to go to the cemetery yet. They're still working on getting their spot all ready and that kind of thing. So be a little bit before this baby gets set. I am so thankful you guys came along. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully it was educational and entertaining. That is always my goal for sure. We will see you all next time.